Hello there! Today I'm reacting to Where's Wes talking about his Polish language process. This is gonna be super incredible. Look at that. I studied Polish for 6 months. You won't believe the results. And why am I watching this? You might be asking yourself. Because, well, I started learning Polish about 3 or 4 days ago. I mean, I started before, but it was just with Duolingo, researching some sentences whenever I have to make a video about Poland. Yeah, it wasn't really studying, but yeah, it's been like 3 or 4 days that I purchased a book called Complete Polish by the Teacher Self Company. I did bought the ebook version because the book one was too expensive. I mean, I think the ebook was like €4 and the book was like 53. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I've purchased the book before for Finnish and it was amazing. The book in itself is good, but it's so weird to learn with the Kindle. I don't know. I'm not such a fan of it, but whatever. And I must say, I'm writing down everything I'm learning. The language, of course, it's difficult, but I'm just at the beginning, so I'm trying not to stress too much about it. I don't know. We'll see. And definitely one more thing before we even start checking out his progress in the language in half a year. I would not have the same results that he had in 6 months because he's living in the country. He's probably using the language a lot while I'm just gonna be learning it by myself in my room for, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40 minutes a day. So of course my progress is not gonna be the same, but it's okay. I have my own pace. I'm not in a hurry, so it's fine. When I know that I will travel to Poland, I will speed up my process. So yeah, guys, I think I've talked enough already. So let's check out the video.
Dzień dobry, dziękuję, polskie, cześć, wszystko.
Ah, that's so cute. That's so cute. I like what he did there. I like how he did that. Come on, it was a lot like Emily in Krakow. No.
Dzisiaj mija dokładnie 6 miesięcy, odkąd zacząłem uczyć się polskiego. I w tym filmie pokażę wam, jak bardzo, ale tak mało, udało mi się zrobić postępy. Zostańcie ze mną, będzie ciekawe. So why is Polish such a Polish is a very precise language, which means that you guys have a specific word for specific actions or specific feelings. For example, in Polish, you have so many different words for the word like to go, iść, jechać, pojechać. English is a lot different because we have a lot of like shortcuts, right? We use the same word to describe different things and it's not very expressive. The pronunciation is very difficult because a lot of the ways that things are said are very unintuitive. For example, let's
Actually, the first thing that I learned from my book that I purchased is that the pronunciation of Polish is the easiest part. Like once you nail how to pronounce the word, once you nail the alphabet, you know how to pronounce pretty much every possible word. That's not something that will happen in Italian. Italian is kind of difficult, I would say, because many times the stress change, there's no set rules, there are a lot of exceptions. And in English, come on. Don't even get me started in English. Come on, I'm always mispronouncing words, even though I've been learning English for, I don't know, half my life.
take the word for luck, szczęście. You have a sh and a ch right next to each other, and there's no real vowel, and being able to like say that smoothly is very weird. You really have to get used to it. Even a word such as chest, right? You have ch, you have s with the slash, and then c with the slash. So just in hello, you have so many different consonant sounds. Personally hate the ch thing because the c is silent and it makes a huh sound. It's just a sound that I'm not used to, so it's taking me a while to get it.
Okay, I learned German in the past. I mean, I didn't become fluent, but I've learned this, so I know how to do that sound.
So in Polish, you have 3 genders, you have 7 cases, the verbs are gendered.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
And in one sentence alone, let's say you have 8 words. The first 2 words are going to be conjugated a certain way, then the next 3 words are going to be conjugated a certain way, and all of that changes based on if it's a man or a woman or whoever's doing it. Also, the prefixes are quite confusing. For example, I'm trying to figure out the difference between poczekać and zaczekać, because when I'm watching TV, people will say poczekaj is kind of like stay where you are, and I've noticed like zaczekaj is kind of like stay outside. I've also seen zaczekaj used to be like stay where you are as well. Just from listening to it on the street, it's very difficult to understand the context of these certain words and why you would use one prefix over another. The case system is one of the most confusing things about Polish because not only do the endings of words change, but also the pronouns that you use to describe.
Hey, genitive, accusative, block. Wait, so there are only 6 cases then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which one is the 7th?
Like on, ona, he, she, those all change. You also have different pronouns depending if a group has one man or no men, or if it's just animals, or if it's all women. That's why I'm saying Polish is a very precise language. And trying to learn new words is extremely difficult because I find that a lot of the words sound the same, especially if you're not used to like the sounds and the pronunciation. For example, you have wiedzieć, wiedzieć, and these are just the root forms of these words, not even considering done or undone, and all of the different exceptions and different conjugations that they have. There's also a lot of synonyms for similar words. For example, albo or lub, both of them mean or. That's why reading for me is the strongest skill because I don't have to think about the grammar, and if I know enough vocabulary, you can pretty much make out exactly what they're talking about. But being able to talk like on the street correctly, that's the hardest part because when I talk to my teacher, every time I say a sentence, she's always correcting me for every single little word. So I feel like I can't even get a sentence out. I don't even worry about grammar.
Oh my god, that happens to me all the time. When I try to speak to, I don't know, sometimes my Finnish fans from other channel, they contact me because they know I'm learning Finnish. They say, okay, just speak Finnish to me, I will correct you. Everything I say, they have to correct me. But I mean, I don't know if Finnish, whatever. If Finnish or Polish is harder, actually. Because both languages have so many cases and different conjugations, it's really difficult. But the good thing about Finnish is that the language that is being spoken by the people is a lot easier. There's a lot of abbreviations, and you don't have to use all the crazy all the crazy conjugations and cases that you would normally use in a more formal setting. I don't know if Polish is like that too, or if you actually use the perfect grammar like I don't know, you take out your grammar book and you use it when you talk to people. Is it like that? I feel like every language it's evolved in a way that makes it easier for everyone, no? I might be wrong. I don't know. You gotta tell me in the comments.
My point now is just trying to make myself understood. So I'll just say things in like the infinitive in a way where a 5-year-old is talking, but people at least can understand me. It's so frustrating knowing.
That's good. That's good. Many people, when they're learning Italian, they do that as well. I mean, it's okay. As long as you can get your point across, then it's totally fine.
All these vocabulary words, but because I don't have the grammar to put it together, it's still very difficult for me to understand what people are saying on the street. Because I'll try to practice my Polish on the street, and I can maybe understand half of what they're saying, but then there's another half of like new vocabulary or a new grammar rule that I don't know yet, and it destroys your confidence because I feel like I'm working so hard, and I feel like I've gotten so much better, but it still feels like I don't understand anything. Okay, so let's compare Polish to the other languages that I know. English is probably the most basic language. The hardest part about English, the pronunciation is very difficult. For example, you have read, which also can be pronounced as red, but then you also have red, and then you have bear, and then you have bear, and then you have beer. Right?
Yeah,
like, a lot
crazy.
of the spelling in English doesn't make sense. Neighbor, thorough. English is also one of the Latin languages that does not have genders for their nouns. And I think this is maybe one of the reasons why the LGBT and trans stuff is so popular in like English speaking countries, but that's a conversation for another day.
But English is not a Latin language. I mean, it's a Germanic language.
So because English is so direct, I find that it lacks a lot of nuance in the way that you can express yourself. If you want to have different forms of I love you, you have I like you, which is just kind of like, oh, a platonic friendship. But you also have love you or I love you, which have two very different connotations. We use the same word to describe two different things. Whereas in Spanish, you have te quiero, which means I love you, but more like a friendship kind of thing. And then you have te amo, which is I love you straight up. But then you also have me encantas, which means like you enchant me. You have me fascinas, which means I'm fascinated by you. You have a lot of different ways to express.
I think I've never used the word me fascinas in my whole life. And I speak Spanish probably better than English.
Emotions in Spanish. So let's talk about Spanish for a bit. I think Spanish has the easiest grammar out of all of these languages, very similar to Chinese. The hardest part about Spanish, especially
I don't agree. I mean, it comes a little bit easier for me because I'm Italian and it's very similar, but to say that the Spanish grammar is easy, oh my god, no, I don't agree. It's pretty difficult actually. The French grammar actually is very easy for an Italian because it's basically Italian grammar. It's the same. There are just so few differences. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can look it up. Italian grammar and French grammar is basically the same. And we share so many vocab. The difficult part is pronunciation.
in the beginning is trying to understand conjugations. Polish and a lot of the Latin languages have this, but English, we don't have it in the same way. For example, like tener, to have, you have yo tengo, tú tienes, ella tiene, nosotros tenemos, we have. You have vosotros for if you're in Spain. Vosotros tenéis, but in Latin America we use tienen for you guys, like wy in Polish,
Ustedes.
or for ellos, which would be like oni, ona in Polish. The sentence structure is a bit weird. Whoever you're saying to, you put that in the beginning, so te amo. Whereas in English, you'll put like I love you. And in Polish, you'll put, just like English, you put kocham cię, right? Kocham cię. And in Spanish, we have a similar concept to Polish. In Polish, we just use się to talk about reflexive verbs. But in Spanish, you have to use me, te, or se. So for example, me baño, I take a shower or I shower myself. Te sientes, which means you feel. Whereas in Polish, you just use się for every single context, which I guess makes it easier. This is the only thing that's easier about Polish. And in Spanish, you have a form of case, which we call subjunctive, which changes the endings of the words. And you only really use subjunctive in like 4 or 5 different contexts. So if you want to say, don't do it, you say, no lo hagas. This is the subjunctive form of hacer. Without subjunctive, it would be haces, right? So you would have to change this word depending on the subjunctive form. So that's the only version of like a case system that Spanish has. So Spanish has genders for their nouns. So for example, la mesa, and the adjective goes after the noun instead of before. Whereas in English, let's say the red table, you have the adjective before. In Spanish, you have la mesa roja. So the adjective goes afterwards, and the ending of the adjective changes based on the gender of the noun. In Polish, it's confusing because sometimes you have the adjective before, sometimes you have the adjective afterwards, and those also get conjugated based on the gender, but it also changes based on the case as well. In general, though, I think Spanish is a very easy language to learn because especially if you know English, around 60% of the vocabulary.
Italian is way more difficult than Spanish because sometimes you will have the article for the feminine word and the word will be masculine, or then there will be like in Spanish the ending is always like for feminine most of the times it's like a, and for masculine is o. While in Italian it could be ending with a but still be a male word. Not the word, no, masculine word. I see, I can't speak English. It could be like, it could definitely be a masculine word, or the same way around, or it could end in E, it could end in I, especially the plurals are pretty difficult to do. Yeah, Italian is way more difficult than Spanish. If you want to learn a cool language, don't learn Italian. Learn Spanish is way easier. It's okay, I'm just kidding, of course. Learn whatever you want to learn.
Vocabulary is pretty much the same, and you have a lot of really good media options, right? There's tons of great music from all of Latin America or in Spain to listen to. It's a really fun language to speak. So now let's talk about Chinese. Chinese is difficult because you have to essentially learn 2 different alphabets. You have the way that something is written. So for example, this is 老师, which means teacher. This is 老, I believe. And 师, you have to remember how to write the character, and you have to say the alphabet, and these two have no relationship to each other. So
bro, come on. I'm trying. Wait, let me show you. Wait, what is it? Look, I've got all my characters right here, making all the history and everything. I can speak some Chinese. I've been learning it for like 5 or 6 years or something like that, but The characters, wow. I mean, I'm pretty newbie on that one, but I love the language. Come on, I love learning languages so much.
Essentially, like you're learning two languages. In Mandarin and a lot of Asian languages, we have a tone system. So, for example, you can have ma in the first tone, you have ma in the second tone, third tone,
Ma.
fourth tone, and sometimes you have a fifth tone, but that's quite rare. So this is ma, 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 ma. So this one, ma, ma, back and forth means mama. And then this one, which means horse, I think is just ma. So these are all ma, and if you're not trained to hear tones, then all of these things like sound the same to you. Oh, and then you also have this one, this version of ma, which I believe is in the fifth tone, and you use this at the end of a sentence and it makes it
to ask
into
a
a question.
question.
So this is the hardest aspect of Chinese, but the sentence structure is really, really simple. So you have 我吃饭, I eat food. Fan also
the
means
grammar
rice,
is-
but we use it in a
I
general
mean,
term for
thank God that the Chinese grammar is easy. Otherwise, the language would be just impossible to crack.
like food, right? So you have 我, which is the main, the subject. Fan is whatever the predicate or the object that we're doing, and then you have the verb in the middle. You also have this concept in Chinese where we change things based on what we're measuring. The most universal measuring form is like 个, so 一个, one of, and then whatever. And then the measuring system can change based on the nouns that you're measuring. So for example, if it's like a dog, 一只狗, you'll use 一, and then you use one dog. So this is the measuring word
Yeah,
for
you have
dog,
the
and then you
measuring
have
word for
different
everything.
measuring words for different things. And we also have this thing in Chinese where normally two is
Yeah, the
like
measuring
this.
thing in Chinese is always so damn difficult. But they always teach you, like, if you are a foreigner, that you don't know which one is the right measure word, you can use "ge." That is like the most general one. You can use it for pretty much everything, and people will still understand you, even though if it won't be technically correct. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, most of the time they just use "ge" and whatever, and people is like, "Oh, okay." They're not gonna be too upset. I mean, that's just in my case. I don't know.
Then if we're using it to count something, then we will say it as liang. This is the only number that changes. The rest of the numbers stay the same. So a lot of people say that Chinese is really hard. I don't think Chinese is that hard. The hardest part is like learning all the vocabulary
the
words,
characters.
but being able to put sentences together is very, very easy. Polish is like the final boss of everything, and it's the most difficult because you have pretty much a mix of all the complicated parts of all these different languages. Speaking in correct Polish takes years and years of studying the grammar, and a lot of Polish people can't even explain it correctly, which is another problem. So let's talk about some of my biggest struggles while learning Polish. There is zero incentive for most foreigners to learn Polish while they're here because most Polish people, especially in the big cities, speak English. I think it's a different story, for example, if you go to like China or Japan where nobody speaks English, you're forced to learn the language. I think a lot of foreigners are just too lazy to learn the language, especially with the reputation that Polish has for being such a difficult language. I know so many foreigners who lived here, and I have to say that I only know maybe like two that have learned Polish that aren't Ukrainian. It's very easy for Ukrainians to learn the language, which is why I think it's no excuse when some Ukrainians move here and refuse to speak Polish and only speak Russian or Ukrainian. I find that very disrespectful, but that's a topic for a different day. People should take a Polish exam every single year for their residency. If Poland is really serious about having people speak their language, the only way to really enforce that is to make it a requirement for residency. Also, Polish lessons are quite
I mean, I thought it was a mandatory thing. I don't know. I don't totally agree with his statement. I mean, yeah, sure, of course. I feel like yes, they should do something like that, but just in order to like, if you need some benefits or whatever. Like, I see couples here, like families, like the I don't know, especially those are like families from like Morocco or other places where the language, of course, Italian is gonna be very hard to learn. And of course, those societies have like the men making all the work and then the women stay home and take care of the kids. And some of those women, they don't even speak a word of Italian. So in that case, I feel like, I don't know, they shouldn't be allowed to receive too many benefits if they're not even giving in the time to learn the language, to integrate in the culture. In that case, yes, because most of the times those families, maybe of course they're a little bit more poor than the rest, because if the husband is the only one doing the work in this society, in this economy, bro, that's gonna be really tough. And they make lots of kids, so The kids speak fluent Italian. The husband struggles a little bit, but still speaks, can get understood. So I feel like the mother, the wife should also learn some Italian. Come on, try to integrate a little bit with the culture. I feel like they remain too fixated on their roots. I don't know. It's something that I don't really like because it's not good. I mean, of course, it's good to cherish your own culture, to not lose it, but still, you're living in a different country. You should still embrace it. Try to integrate yourself. No, it's so bad when you try to like emancipate yourself too much and just keep on living the way you used to be before. It's not too good. In that case, I would say, of course, if they want to live like that and all that, that's fine. But then they get helps from the government and all that. So in that case, I feel like they should demonstrate, yes, I'm living in this country, so I need money for my family, and I'm showing you that since you're giving me this money, I'm taking the effort to learn the language, embrace the culture. I don't know. It might be like very extremist of a thought from me, but I don't know. I feel like many crises with the migrants will be solved that way if people will be, I wouldn't say forced to learn the language of the country they're staying in, but at least like try to teach them the culture, you know, and make them embrace the culture in a fun way. It could be, you know, it doesn't have to be like something like, oh, you should stop doing whatever you were doing in your country. No, it should be like something like, yeah, in this country we do this way, so it's not too nice if you do it like you used to do it in your country. Then you should learn at least the basics of the language. I don't know, whatever. I mean, we were talking about Polish. I got just carried away, sorry.
Expensive, so it can be a financial investment. So I understand for a lot of people where it's like, okay, the language is extremely hard, it's not rewarding, it's going to take a very long time to learn, there's no real requirement to learn it to get residency here, and lessons are expensive. What do you think is going to happen? And because the language is so hard, a lot of the progress seems extremely slow. I've been doing this for over 6 months, but it feels like the progress compared to when I was learning Spanish, this was around me when I was learning Spanish, I think around maybe month 3 or 4, whereas here in Polish it seems like it's going to take twice, 3 times, or
okay, I'm sorry for stopping one more time, but there's like lots of misconceptions, and that's not even his fault. That's the fault of too many people on the internet saying, oh, you should be learning. If you sit down yourself, you pay attention, study the language for 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, then in 6 months, 1 year, you'll be learning the language. That's totally false. That's totally false. To learn a language to some extent and be able to communicate without any problems, it would take probably like 5 to 10 years. And I'm just talking about a language that is pretty, I don't know, it's pretty simple still. Come on. Like a language that is very difficult, come on. I've been learning Chinese since 2020 during the pandemic I started, and bruh, I'm not fluent in the language. I mean, many times I've been lazy, I leave it there. Other times I've been studying it a lot. Other times I've been focusing on the character, then I stopped. I'm not fluent in the language. Like, and I've been pretty much dedicated. Most of the people are just learning on Duolingo or whatever. It takes time. It takes time. I'm learning this language. It doesn't have to be like in 6 months or 1 year I have to become fluent. You just have to do like, yeah, today I'm learning this language and I'm learning something new. It should be always like that. At a certain point, you will become fluent. I feel like people should be more relaxed. There's too much pressure right now in this world. Like for languages, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's okay. Just start every language. And then when I feel like it, I learn something more. I won't forget any of what I learned. Come on. Even the languages that I just studied for 2 weeks, I still remember bits and pieces. And if I will go to the country, I will still be able to pick it up from there and learn more. So I was like, just relax. Come on. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It will happen eventually. Maybe it would take 2 years, maybe 5, maybe 10. It's okay. Who cares? I mean, we live until 80 or 90 years old, so it's fine. Don't worry. Even just the little that you learn, it will be still beneficial. So it's fine.
even 4 times as long. It also seems like a lot of Polish people don't really appreciate the fact that I'm learning Polish, at least in person. It seems like they assume that I should speak perfect Polish, and if I don't, they kind of get angry at me. I think this applies more to the older crowd. I think the older and employees are generally just kind of ruder and a little more mean. I think the younger generation, most of them speak English, so if they see you attempting to learn Polish, you get the respect. But I also find it very difficult to find good media to consume in order to learn Polish. A lot of Polish content has a lot of like inside jokes and a lot of things about the culture that makes it difficult for an outsider to really enjoy. And on top of that, like if you're just starting out in your language journey, I can't really just watch a show because even that with Polish subtitles, I'm completely lost. So what has helped me a lot is just watching.
Oh, Pokemon! So cute. Now, actually, I know when I was learning Finnish, they had the national newspaper and media that offered many of their news in simplified Finnish for foreigners. So, and they were offering lots of free classes online as well, as long as you had the book. I don't know, probably in Poland they have something similar too. You just have to keep on looking. I don't know. Many people love when foreigners learn the language, so they offer free tools. I'm sure the government of Poland is doing something like that. So if you know any, let me know down in the comments because I'm interested.
Cartoons, because the conversations and the text is a lot easier to understand as they're catered towards kids. And I'll usually just put Polish audio with English text for now so I can kind of get a feel and the vibe for the language. Also, another problem is that a lot of TV shows where they have Polish subtitles and Polish audio, they're not the same. So you'll hear one thing and what's written in the text is completely different. So it's not very helpful at all. I found a way to, listen to Polish music on my channel. And a lot of older Polish music is pretty good, but I find that a lot of the newer stuff is quite boring, to be honest. The famous stars like David Podsiało, I think is a little overrated. Sana, I also think is a little overrated. I really like Bambi. I think she's pretty good. I think Mata is really good. He's my favorite Polish artist, actually.
It's amazing.
Since I'm living here, I think it's definitely worth the effort. I think it's gonna bring my career to a whole other level. The whole entire process of it is extremely difficult and it's just very disheartening at times. It is an extremely rewarding process and you ultimately get the respect of the Polish people, which to me makes it all worth it. Gorąco polecam, żebyś obejrzał ten film jako następny. Do zobaczenia w kolejnym filmie.
Watch the next one. Oh, he reacted as well to the language sim preview of the Polish language. That was so cool. Go and watch it if you still haven't. That was a great video. I mean, he was very honest about it and I really appreciated that. But I don't know. It's totally understandable. You know what he said before, that the people is not being very helpful and all that. I feel I might be wrong. I don't want to offend anyone. Of course, I don't want to say anything bad. But I feel that way whenever I'm like struggling so much with the language. I start to find excuses for myself to stop learning the language. So I start to see people that are being rude to me. They're not being too helpful. I don't know. It's probably like a mind trick or something like that. So you shouldn't just think about that too much. Like, of course, it's very different when you're learning Asian languages. People is always super excited. They're super cheerful, always compliment you, like, wow, you're so good, and all that. That makes you really motivated. With European languages, we are not like that. Come on. I can't imagine any European, when someone speaks their language, to be like, oh my God, wow, how did you learn that? Oh my God, that's incredible. You're the best person in the world. Of course, come on. That wouldn't be possible. I mean, maybe someone is like that. I don't know, but I never felt that way. So realistically, that won't happen. So you just have to take the small wins. You gotta understand the culture, embrace it, and yeah, eventually you will get there. I'm sure of it. I mean, I just started to learn one of the most difficult languages in the world. So let me be positive. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in my next one.